So to be able to prepare some of your foods, like I see so many people here doing, is like, I see myself as a seeker, as a spiritual practitioner. I see myself as a student, and that is really the passion of my life, is to learn and to study, and then to share the things that I learn with people who are interested in talking about the things that I like. Primarily a student. I would say yes. And I would also say that there are different kinds of pain. So there's some pain which is a discomfort because you're challenging your body in a new way. And that pain might result in muscle soreness for a day or two, but it doesn't last in chronic pain. If you have postures that are causing you to continually be in pain and to always hurt you, then those are the things that you should probably not do, or ask advice from a teacher or someone to help you out navigate it. To feel discomfort, which is a muscle stretching or muscle strengthening, is okay, as long as it doesn't hurt for days and days and days on end, or make your life difficult to manage. If you have back pain and it's hard to get out of bed, that's not good. If you get knee pain and it's hard to walk, that's not good. Then that pose is not good for you. So you have to be able to see the difference between those two. How to find one's true teacher? Well, you're going to have different teachers for different things. You're going to have different teachers for different topics. Just like when we go to school or we go to university, we have different teachers who teach us math or English or science or history or literature. You are going to have inside of you, we each will have inside of us, a particular affinity for a certain topic. And often, but not always, we'll find a teacher who is very knowledgeable about that topic, who can guide us, who we feel drawn to. And then we decide, because we're drawn to that person, they are the person who can teach me what I want to learn about this. And sometimes you think you want to learn one particular thing, but then you'll find a teacher who has such an expansive knowledge about the topic that you actually end up learning something much more profound than what you went there to learn. So the best way to find your teacher, whether it's a true teacher or not, is to go looking for one. If you're looking for anything, you should go looking. And you might have to look a lot of places, you might only have to look one place. But the best way is to actually do something. It's very hard to let go of things, but it's a practice. It's a practice. And in the meditation techniques, especially in Buddhism, you find a lot of good techniques for learning how to let go. And sometimes that has to do with practicing loving kindness practices, compassion practices, and forgiveness practices. So letting go doesn't just come only on its own by trying to drop something, but there's a reason why we hold on to something, and usually that reason is tied up to either anger or shame or guilt or blame or trauma, or there's so many different things. And often it's something between ourselves and another person or situation and ourselves. So we have to practice compassion and forgiveness towards ourselves, compassion and forgiveness towards the other people, and then when we practice that, we start to soften the bondage of holding, and we see that finally this thing is not holding me anymore. So letting go of things isn't always just a process of me dropping something, it's of that thing which was holding on to me, now I have learned how to release it from its hold on me. Because my mind has been attaching itself to it, and it's been attaching itself to my mind. So the bonds that hold it become softened, they get weaker, and then they just fade away, like a cloud dissipating. But many practices will, in time also, is a very important part of that too. This is a very good question. Memory plays a very important role in yoga. In fact, in the Upanishads, the strengthening of your memory is one of the primary things which is praised. Because when we decide to take a spiritual practice on, it's because we don't know fully who we are. And some of the Upanishads said that we don't know who we are completely because we've forgotten. And so remembrance is a part of remembering who we are. Remembrance or memory is a very important part of religious practice, devotional practice, always remembering the divine, always remembering God, and repeating God's name, whether it's Krishna or Ram or the Devi or Jesus or Muhammad or any spiritual figurehead which is dear to you, to hold on to their name, to hold on to their teachings, and to remember them is part of the remembrance of who we truly are, what we're here for, and how to find deep inner connection and peace. So, as well, when it comes to meditation, say in meditation you're trying to focus your mind on your breath, or you're trying to focus your mind on a mantra. One way that this has been described is that when you're trying to focus and some thoughts come up and your mind wanders away, is that you have forgotten to stay focused on your mantra, and you thought that your thinking, the thoughts that were coming in were more important than your chosen point. So you've forgotten what's important, you've gotten lost what's not important, and then you have to figure out how to come back to what's important. So memory and the strengthening of memory will keep you focused on what is important and will help you come back to what is important when you've lost your focus and gone somewhere else. So memory is crucial, it's key. All of the yoga practices are strengthening memory. I'll answer the first part, supposedly got lost. A lot of texts in India have gotten lost. If you look in the libraries, the Sanskrit libraries, there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of Sanskrit texts, many which have never been translated and never will be translated. Of Buddhist texts, of Hindu texts, of yoga texts, there's tons of stuff. It's very common for texts to get lost. For example, the Sankhya Karika. Right now, the book we have on Sankhya comes from somewhere between maybe 200 to 400 CE. The common dates around 300 to 350. Before Sankhya Karika, there were other texts on Sankhya that have been completely lost. No one has ever seen them because they were lost. But some of the teachings are still there, but the texts themselves are gone. That is knowledge lost to the world. So all we have is this later version. So Krishnamacharya mentions Yoga Korunta in his book, the Yogasana Gulu, which was written, I think, in 1938 or 1941, perhaps it was written. And he mentions it there as a book that he referenced. And of course, in the Ashtanga Yoga world, we know about Yoga Korunta because it's the supposed source of Ashtanga Yoga. My guess is that in the Yoga Korunta, you're not going to see the sequences of the primary series, intermediate, and all that, but you'll see some of the techniques that we use, such as vinyasa krama and other things like that. Maybe some of the asanas are listed, but not exactly how we know of them today. So even if Yoga Korunta was to be found, if people are expecting it to reflect what Ashtanga Yoga looks like today, we would probably, or they would probably be disappointed. It's not going to look like that. But there are probably key things that are in there. So do I think the text existed? I do think that it existed. Do I think it will ever be found? Probably not. Would it be nice if it was found? Yes, it would be very cool, because then people could read it and see a much greater or expanded idea about what Ashtanga Yoga is. Some good scientific research that the left nostril is related to parasympathetic nervous system, to the information processing in the back part of the brain related to spatial awareness, downregulation of sympathetic hyperarousal, calming states, etc., etc. And the right nostril is related more to the sympathetic nervous system, activity in the front part of the brain related to cognitive function, and also to metabolic function as well. Increasing metabolism is related to the right nostril. Relaxation states related to the left nostril. The answer to that, I would say, would be both. It's important to learn from teachers and to be corrected, and it's important to build up your own self-discipline and self-sovereignty to manage your spiritual practice on your own. Going to studios is nice because you can help build community as well, but we need to have flexibility to learn how to be on our own with our spiritual practices too. If you are not able to practice at home because there's no space, there's too many people, you have a lot of roommates, it's not conducive, it's wonderful, go to a yoga studio. But if you have the ability to practice on your own at home, get in that habit of doing it sometimes as well. Only so you have a different framework of your own self within your practice, rather than a framework always around people.